Slammiversary, TNA's big show happened this weekend, July 20, in Montreal, Quebec, at the old Verdun Auditorium. It was absolutely a show that happened. I did not think that this was a tremendous show. I think it's very much. I don't know if I need to be nice here. You know what I mean? I don't know, because if anything, I'm really conflicted in the sense that I think it was at best a mid show. At best it was mid. Does that make sense? And there's stuff on this show that I should be liking more. But I feel like TNA got absolutely in its own way. I mean, from a business standpoint, right? From a business standpoint, they said they kept telling us this show is sold out, 4,000 tickets, which is the capacity of the Verdun Auditorium. But WrestleTix doesn't have the confirmation yet as far as how many tickets have been distributed. You know, they say here, WrestleTix says, I can't confirm the setup or capacity because the map had general admission sections that aren't countable, but next week's Slammiversary, that was a week ago. Hang on a second. Yeah, there's nothing up. I thought that was an update, but it was an older note, turns out, and there's no updates, and we probably won't get an update for a couple of days still. I don't know. But like we said, TNA has been touting this as, capacity, 4,000 people on hand. WrestleTix was saying, there's general admission, and those are difficult to count. So it's hard to say how many people are there, but I trust WrestleTix will do the work, and we'll get the best possible number. And if it's 4,000, like everyone has been saying, if it's 4,000, that's like the biggest gate that they've had in years. It's a tremendous success for TNA. Tremendous success. Coming into a town, a renowned wrestling town, and filling up your 4,000 seat arena, coming into a wrestling town that you usually don't visit. So the territory is not burnt out. They welcome you with open arms. You do a really good job promoting. You do a really good job putting forward the local talent as well, in PCO and Speedball specifically. There's I can see why they were able to fill up the arena. Would they be able to maintain this if they did it every month, every 3 months, every quarter? That's an interesting question to posit, right? Because if you go to one market once a year, of course people are going to be excited, and don't discount the idea of or the importance, I should say, of having a French Canadian broadcast of your show on TV, like based in Montreal, right? You probably saw it. You probably saw it, right? The French announce team that were there, MacLeod and handsome JF. Blondin he's a long time wrestling commentator who he's been doing this since WCW. Like this guy is a name that wrestling fans in Quebec know and respect. They like him. So you put him on TV, you give him some time. People know who. If you're a wrestling fan, you know who Marc Blondin is, right? So he's had, he even has his little catchphrase and everything, right? So you don't underestimate this stuff. And I think this is mostly tweaked towards AW. Don't underestimate the importance of the localized talent, of the localization is what I'm trying to say, of the TNA product as part of its success. I'm not saying that it's the key performance indicator that made 4,000 people buy tickets, but it's a part of it. Just putting that out there. Don't set that aside. But yeah, so where was I going with this? So we were talking because I took a sharp right to talk about Marc Blondin for a little bit in the team. So we were talking about how so we're talking about the 4,000, yeah. But yeah, essentially I'm saying with all the efforts that were put in, I'm not surprised that they were able to pack the house. And honestly, good for TNA. Like that is a tremendous accomplishment, right? And of course, the unfortunate thing, I say of course, but the unfortunate thing is that the bad faith actors have all now turned to pointing at TNA's success here as, finally a viable number 2 promotion in the US, as opposed to AEW because Eric Bischoff and Raj Giri and the like, they all hate AEW with a passion. They want it to fail for some bizarre reason because they don't like pro wrestling. They just like WWE. But then you could be like, but Warren, TNA is not WWE and they want WWE and they seem to want TNA to succeed to be called number 2. Well, that's the thing. After watching this show, I kind of feel like I understand why the grifters, why these bad faithers like TNA so much. It's really a simpler, smaller form of WWE. That's pretty much it. There's nothing that much more complicated to express. The analysis isn't all that much more profound. After watching Slammiversary this weekend, I understood. I was like, okay, this is why they like it so much. It's full of storytelling that absolutely gets in the way of professional wrestling, and they're all cheering for it and they love it, and it comes across as WWE stuff, so I'm not surprised they like it. I'm not shocked in the least that they look at this and they're like, yeah, this is great. This is what the secondary promotion should be doing, because what it does, instead of offering a true alternative to the WWE product, it's just more of the same. It really is. And I was watching TNA last year. I was watching the big events, right? And I would sit here and there would always be a couple of matches on the show. And I'm like, God, this ruled, so on and so forth. This was great, And I've been trying to watch TNA shows with that same frame of mind, and I'm just shrugging my shoulders, and I don't get it. And I think since Scott D'Amore left, The people who are now in control of creative are like, well, we'll be able to do our WWE light shows and people are going to love it. And don't get me wrong, this TNA crowd, the live audience gobbled it all up. They loved it. Like, not only did they pack up the audience, up to the rafters, standing room only. Not only that, but this was a hot crowd. They were into it. I wasn't, but they were. So good for them. Like, good if they're finding their formula. But the point that I ultimately am trying to make here is that I understand now. I think I 100% get why the grifters are latching on to TNA and saying this is a viable number 2. It's because it's just more of the same. It's just more of the same. Fine, acceptable matches, angles, ham-fisted stories, no subtlety, it's just like blam, 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 big old angles. I mean, look, let's just get to it. I might as well just start reviewing it, because I don't know. I don't know what there is to say that would save this show. TNA has always wanted to be WWE. Has it always wanted to be WWE? I think the Panda Energy era sort of confirmed that. Or not confirmed it, but took it obviously in that direction. How about that? And that's what it's been seeking. That's what it's been looking for. Now, it may have translated into some attendance for the show, into a great gate for them. But are you going to tune in on Thursday nights, WWE fans, to watch it? I still don't know who is going to watch TNA. It goes back to what I was talking about Bobby Lashley earlier. The way fans operate now, the way fans are with the tribalism, no one seems interested in exploring, in discovering. It's a niche group of people now, like myself, who are open to trying other things out. But when it comes to, WWE fans, they don't seek out, they don't discover. How many WWE fans are going to go seek out some of the great Naomichi Marufuji matches now that they found out that he's going to be attending SummerSlam to do color commentary for, I don't know, the Japanese table or whatever? For a Bima TV, I'm asking this legitimately. Who's going to start watching Naomichi Marufuji matches? And you know what? I would welcome people going back to mid-aughts to watch some prime Marufuji in his tag team with Kenta. Let's go. I invite them to do that. Then we might be opening up some horizons and people suddenly discovering some real exciting pro wrestling. But I doubt they're going to do that. How many of these people are going to sign up to Wrestle Universe and seek those out? None. Or a very minute percentage. So, it's like I often ask, who is benefiting? How is WWE benefiting from this relationship that they're developing with TNA? Because sending the no contract quarter crew over to Slammiversary does not have an immediate impact. And I dare anyone to make a case for Charlie Dempsey and Tavion Heights and the third guy, the generic creator wrestler guy, I challenge anyone to convince me that those three drew that house or had even the smallest inkling of contributing to drawing that house this weekend. I don't buy it. I don't know what their benefit is, which is why I'm weary. And TNA fans should be weary too. If the benefit for WWE is not immediately obvious, y'all should be sitting on pins and needles. Y'all should be wondering what the hell is going on and what will happen to my beloved promotion. Same thing with Noah. Same thing with Marigold. What is the benefit? I still don't see it. JK Schwal, nice to see you, buddy. Member of the Mr. Warren Hayes Show channel. Even though it's late, it's always good to stroll by. Good to see you. Thanks for being here. Let's go with the review. Let's just go. There was a pre-show. Results mostly, because I thought most of the pre-show was a bore. Tasha Steelz defeated Giselle Shaw, Fabi Apache, and Zaya Brookside. Tasha Steelz steals the pin. Like, Giselle Shaw gets the hits her finisher or whatever and loads up to get the pinfall cover, but Tasha Steelz runs in and pulls her out of the ring so she can steal the pin. You could not have a more straight up WWE finish than that, especially for a multi-person match. Kushida defeated Rich Swann. Kushida was supposed to fight Jonathan Gresham, but the crowd strike glitch, the airport glitch, prevented Jonathan Gresham from flying in on time, apparently. So he was replaced by Rich Swann, and Kushida was doing a Hakushi gimmick. Okay. I don't think there was anything here. Masha Slamovich and Alicia Edwards defeated Spitfire. This is the team of Danny Luna and Jody Threat. I thought this was pretty good. I thought that this was the best match of the pre-show. That's not saying much, though. I don't think it was a barn burner or anything. This was fine, competent wrestling. I can't believe that this is what we're reducing Masha Slamovich to, but that's just me. And then Eric Young defeated Hammerstone, okay? And look, we're in Canada. I get it. Eric Young, blah, blah, blah. But from what I understand, right, Hammerstone is a big heel, and he has the potential, right, to be a top guy, a top heel in the company. And I think he just returned from injury or whatever. Like, he had been gone for a while. And you bring him back, and you have what is ostensibly a squash. Like, I think Young beat him like under 5 minutes. What the hell are we doing? And Hammerstone is a big, beefy dude. Like, what are we doing here? I don't know. I I don't know how they decided, how they thought that this was a good idea in bringing Hammerstone back. So right off, like I'm watching this, I'm like, oh brother, okay. It's going to be one of those shows. Then we go to the main card. Matt Hardy defeated JDC. And JDC is Dirty Dango. It's what do they call him now? The JDC is his name, but it's Dango. Fandango, Dirty Dango, whatever you want to call him. Good grief. In 2024, I'm watching Fandango and Matt Hardy in a show on a main card. There was nothing special here. I'd call it the 3-star special, but it was worse. I gave it 2. You've seen this match so many times before. You know what I mean? Like you have absolutely not, you know what I mean? Like not specifically Fandango versus Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy, excuse me, but you have seen the match they put on so many times before. Just run out of there as soon as possible. Sub 10 minutes. What it lasted 4 minutes, under 5. That was merciful, but there was nothing here. Then the TNA World Tag Team title match happened next, where ABC, which is Ace Austin and Chris Bay, defeated Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards, the System, to become once again TNA World Tag Team Champions. And ABC, they have some good hope spots throughout the match here. The System has so many drawn out control segments. ABC do a great topic on Hilo, and look, the story of this match here is what follows: long heat segments and bursts of hope spots that get that to maintain the crowd into it. But holy smokes, this structure. There's this good sequence that ends with Ace Austin just doing a Fosbury flop. ABC go to do the Art of Finesse on Myers. This is the finish here. This is what I'm talking about when I'm telling you that people are really what the grifters are into. So the finish is this. They want to do the Art of Finesse, which is their combined. Each guy does their finish. It doesn't matter. And they want to do their finishers. And they want to do it on Myers, but Alicia Edwards gets in the ring, okay? And she sort of puts herself between, I don't remember which one of ABC. I don't know if it was Bay or Austin. It doesn't matter. But she slides herself between them and Myers. And then Eddie Edward sort of moves, but then like Myers, I think like he puts Alicia Edwards behind her, and then Eddie Edwards moves Myers away from eating like a move. So ABC hit Alicia Edwards, and it wasn't good. It's as confusing and weirdly booked as it sounds, and it was very awkward because there was a lot of standing around waiting for people to do things. And with this serves as a distraction because Eddie Edwards is like, my wife! And then that leads to ABC doing their finishers and winning the titles. So you see what I mean? This is why the grifters like this so much. Because they're like, yeah, storytelling. And I'm like, no, this is bad. This is not good. And it took me out of the match a bit. Good action, from ABC, per usual. I have always been a big fan of this tag team. Solidly put together, except for that spot. But the match dragged. It's one thing to have a control segment and, grab a hold and grind your opponents down. You know, I understand what the nature of a heat segment is, but you still have to keep it interesting. The heels still have the onus of keeping the match interesting and alive. So 3.25 star for me. Mike Santana defeated Jake something. I thought this match ruled. I thought this was a blast. I think it might overall be my favorite match of the show. And they're, you know, two big beefy dudes going big and brutal, dropping each other, throwing bombs. Santana does a huge German suplex and they're striking. We even get some fighting spirit in this where they're popping up and they're getting themselves jacked and fighting off each other. And Mike Santana lays out Jake something with a huge lariat, covers, and something kicks out at one. I'm like, oh, yes, like this is the shit, man. And Santana gets the win with the discus lariat. He has a name for it. The second corner down the block, across the block, 2 blocks down. I don't remember. Good on Mike Santana for hitting the bricks out of AEW, where he probably saw a ceiling that he was like, nah, I have more to offer. And that a lot of us myself were like, well, what does he have to offer? And I look at this match, he does the entrance, like, he's doing Mox's entrance. And I'm like, okay. But the bell rings and the dude is into it. And he's got a great partner in Jake Something, who I really like. And they're just like going so hard and just dropping moves and I cannot help but think after the end of that match, like, good for Santana. If he's going out there, going elsewhere, and he's like, I'm going to prove my worth. I'm going to elevate my stock by going elsewhere and doing other things. And that's why Impact was the good landing spot for him, because they will let him do that. He's got history there. Coming back from AEW, they'll let him do what he needs to do. And it worked. And I don't remember watching a Mike Santana match where I was like, man, this absolutely rocks. Like a singles match, I mean. Because Pride and Powerful were a tremendous tag team. So good for him. Because I think it's going to work. I think it's going to pay off for him. Yeah, I gave this 3.75 stars. I thought this was tremendous. The Rascals all reunited with their boy Wes Lee, who was collecting the checks out of the warehouse. They're all back together. Zachary Wentz, Trey Miguel. They defeated the No Contract Catch crew of Charlie Dempsey, Tavion Heights, and Bill the Wrestler number 3. What's his name? What is he called? What? Isn't he like James Bourne? Miles Bourne. I thought this was good. I gave it 3.5 stars, but like, the question that I have continues to be, what is the benefit here? What was the benefit of sending 4 of your guys? When I'm talking about WWE, sending 4 of your guys over to work this match, like, I don't understand, One thing that I found interesting was how much more seasoned, and I understand why, but how much more seasoned the Rascals are in compared to those to the other dudes. Like, it's mind-boggling. Like, 3 guys who have been doing this for years, who came up on the indies together, right? And who already had the chemistry and so on and so forth, against the catch club, the no quarter club. They, who are supposed to be like this well-oiled team of killers, right? And they legitimately kill people on NXT, by the way. And they come off as just, green, and that's normal because Tavion Heights and, generic builder wrestler number 3 are absolutely green. Like, they're the greenest of green. I think Tavion Heights has something. He comes across, I like his energy. I think he has something interesting as, if he wanted to go into a wild man type of gimmick, I think he's got something. He's got a presence. He's not completely devoid of anything, unlike generic builder wrestler number 3, who I feel I've seen out of the PC a million times over at this point, right? But look, the Rascals were the stars of this show. They were the stars of this match, and Dempsey. I know a lot of people are really high on Dempsey because he's Regal's kid, and he does have a lot of naturals, and he's already pretty good. But the part that no one wants to say out loud is that he himself is still very green. And he's going off and he's winning Bloodsport and all that stuff, but he is also still very green. And it shows, you could see in a couple of circumstances in this match. There was one spot in the match, right, that I really, really hated. Because there's a lot of great stuff, and the guys are doing these tremendous dives, and Trey Miguel is just eating shit. Like, he's the Ricky Morton of this one here. He's eating so much shit to get to the hot tag. And yeah, I wrote it right here. There's this extremely corny spot where Bourne, generic builder wrestler number 3, he's playing defense while Tavion Heights and Charlie Dempsey each have one of the Rascals in submission, right? And then it's Wes Lee who's free, and you've got Bourne doing one of these, making sure that he doesn't go through. But Lee is just on the floor, not on the floor, on the mat, and he's just staring as the setup for these stereo submissions happen. And then Wes Lee jumps up and sort of kicks, generic builder wrestler number 3, who falls onto, I think it's Tavion Heights, who releases the hold and then falls onto Charlie Dempsey, who then releases his hold, right? So it's like a domino effect, and it was really corny because there was a lot of standing around, a lot of, okay, this is the spot. Like, this was so rehearsed and came across a lot better than a lot of people said. And I was looking at this and I'm like, this is an NXT spot. This is absolutely something that I would see on NXT. So you see, the WWE-fication is absolutely there. Anyway, the Rascals won. I thought it was good nonetheless, even though it came off as contrived. And I put a lot of the onus on the Rascals, who were a blast, and I honestly kind of wish they were a thing again. Oh, the Montreal Street Fight was next for the TNA Digital Media Championship and the Canadian International Heavyweight Championship from Lutte Internationale, a promotion that shut down in the late 80s and whose title has been retired for the better part of 4 decades at this point, nearly 4 decades. And somehow this became a thing in TNA. They brought it back and they put it on AJ Francis to get the heat, to get some heat in Montreal. And this was because it was AJ Francis versus PCO. PCO won PCO won, by the way. The live crowd loved this, and this is one of these egregious plunder matches that I've seen not only a million times, but that I can't stand. Okay? People were excited to see PCO, despite the fact, and they were really excited for this super corny resurrection thing, because they aired AJ Francis gets in the ring with Rick Swann and two other dudes. I don't know who they are. And one of the dudes got involved later in the match. I don't care who these people are. I really don't. And so you've got AJ Francis in the ring, and they air a vignette, and they heavily implied that Francis, Rich Swann, and the two other goons, that they murdered PCO. This is they don't use the word murdered. They didn't say assassination or we killed them, we unlived them. They didn't use any of those terms. But it was heavily implied that they assaulted him backstage to the point that he became bereft of life. Cut to the presentation, to the introduction, and there's a coffin, right? That's opened. They opened the coffin, and it's written, "Do not enter" on the inside of the coffin. I'm like, sure. That's why. Was that supposed to be spooky? Is that supposed to? Of course, I'm not going to enter a coffin. That was dumb. So they have the coffin out on the stage, right? And they lower from the rafters an obvious dummy of PCO, like wrapped in a white shroud, so that you don't see like it's a dummy, right? And they bring the shroud into the coffin, and then they close the coffin, and then they open it up, and then Destro, you remember Destro, the dude who used to be like PCO's manager, talk like this, he had the French, and he had the French Canadian accent. And I am Destro, and we will bring him back alive, that guy. And then he'd hit PCO with the battery charger, clamp his nipples, and you remember this shit, right? This when PCO started to have his career revival as a maniac, right? And he and then we get to the coffin spot, and he's there, and he starts. So they close the coffin, then they open it up again. And they're ruffling around with some things. They're ruffling some things around. And then PCO comes out. You have literally Destro's in there with his hands. We don't see what he's doing. We kind of see PCO coming up through the gimmick bottom of the coffin, because the coffin is like on top of a, something on wheels, like whatever. It's all gimmicked so that, they get the phony body, and then there's probably like there's a trap door under the coffin so that they'll take the fake coffin, the dummy away, and then PCO will come out because he's already there. And there's lightning, and people are into it, and I guess that's fine, and then PCO does his friend, because he's the French Canadian Frankenstein, you see. So it's okay if he dies, because he can come back to life, unlike the rest of us. We're just normal dudes and dudettes. Look, I have I don't know what to say about this one. Like, I thought it was kind of trash. I didn't think it was good at all. Look at the people involved, right? PCO is way past his expiration date, if you ask me. Like, I've been outside of that ridiculously bloody match that he had with Steve Macklin last year. Like, that, you remember, I tried to review it and I didn't even know how to review it because of how much of a freak show of a match it was. Outside of that, like, PCO has been a complete center of disinterest for me. No disrespect, you know, and I guess I'm supposed to feel closer to my countrymen than this. But PCO does nothing for me. It hasn't done anything for me for a while now. Like, I think the veneer of old man doing moonsaults onto the floor, completely unprotected, you know, throwing caution to the wind. It's run its course for me, you know. And you know, I can't stand AJ Francis. I you know, I think he's a waste of space. So what, you know, whatever. But somehow this match was, of course, more convoluted than it could be. We had one of the dudes that was with AJ Francis gets involved and you know, did a thing. What did he do? He almost blew a chair shot on he was supposed to do a chair shot on PCO. He almost blew it. And then he did drop PCO directly back first on 2 upright chairs, which looked nasty as hell. Like, that was a tremendous spot. This guy kind of sounded like Scott Steiner too. You know, he was jaw-jacking and the camera picked it up. I don't know who these people are. And then Sami Callihan ran in, and then Rhino ran in, and then PCO does a tombstone and tries to get the cover by mimicking the Undertaker, and then PCO PCO does a moonsault and gets the win, right? That's exactly right. Just reading my notes. And then after the match, Steph DeLander comes to the ring and proposes to PCO because apparently they have a romance angle, and PCO says yes, and she's dressed like Wednesday Addams, and commentary gleefully goes, "We're gonna have a wrestling wedding." You see what I mean? Do you see what I mean when I tell you I understand why the grifters are into this? Why they're like, this should be the number 2. You see what I mean? This was awful. This is 2 stars. And I'm actually wondering if I shouldn't go lower. You know what? 1 3/4. I don't feel good giving this 2 stars. This was trash. This was everything I hate about these types of matches, plus. Jordan Grace defeated Ash by elegance. Now, some people in my circles were sharing tweets about how Dana Brooke has turned it up. You know, finally, now that she has all the room to grow or something, you know, to perform, Dana Brooke is seizing that opportunity. She's so great now, you know, kind of thing. I'm sitting back, like, I didn't watch this live. Got the replay. And I see these things and I'm like, okay, open mind. Maybe this is the big revelation. Maybe this is the big moment where we realize that all this time we were snoozing on Dana Brooke, that AEW and the WWE was holding back the next dump Matsumoto. That she finally is letting her inner Minami Toyota fly. I can tell y'all, folks, this is not what happened. Dana Brooke still is not very good at pro wrestling. She still is not. And Jordynne Grace, you want to talk about a carry job? Good for her. I can't believe that this is what we're doing with Jordynne Grace right now. See, for some reason, Rosemary is in the audience. Maybe there's story to this, and that's the point that I don't understand. But Rosemary is in the audience, and at some point, she saunters down to the ring out of the audience and chases away Ash by Elegance's butler. That's who he is, right? She chases her butler away with a knife. Like she pulls out like a knife, an actual knife. I'm like, what? Again, this is why the grifters love this shit, right? And Grace in this match is solid as usual. Like you cannot fault Jordynne Grace for the work she puts in. It's just solid. She does a muscle buster early on. Superplex into a belly to belly by Jordynne Grace. And, Ash by Elegance, she gets a couple of big spots in. She does a Canadian Destroyer. She does a sliced bread. But when she's doing the sliced bread off of the top rope with Jordan, you can almost see her going, almost see her counting it down. You can see it in her head, everything spinning. She's thinking about the move. She's thinking about, like, there's nothing natural that she does. There's a sequence at the end. You know when wrestlers do sequences towards the end of the match where they're transitioning out of each other's moves? You see a lot of that in New Japan. Like it's a standard in New Japan where the last sequence is like, oh, we're in and out of moves. Strike, duck, transition, try the move. No, he's out of it. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. They do that. Jordynne Grace and Dana Brooke. But it is so slow. It is so slow. Or I'm doing one of these. And I see what you ladies are doing, but Dana Brooke is telegraphing everything. And it's slow. And throughout this entire match, she's clunky. She's out of position on things. And how long has Dana Brooke been at this? How long has she been at this? No, not Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose. What the hell is this? There we go. She's been at this for 9 years. Okay, and I understand that she maybe hasn't been getting the best reps by spending, 80% of a calendar year in catering at WWE events. I get it. But Jesus. Not exactly a performance center screaming success here. And this, and she tries to reinvent herself. God bless her. But she's just Dana Brooke. Juggernaut Driver gets the win. Of course it gets the win. And I have a thought. In regards to Jordynne Grace. And again, keep in mind, I really like Jordynne Grace. But I think you have to be an absolute dummy to think that she's not ending up in WWE next year, right? There were rumors recently, I believe we talked about it here on the podcast, that her contract was even shortened to accommodate her going to WWE in January next year, right? But not specifically to go to WWE, right? The news item is that her contract was shortened to end in January 2025 instead of in June. So she can get to WWE sooner, right? This is all making sense to us, right? Of course she's going to WWE, right? That has to be the general consensus, right? You have to be an absolute dummy to think that she's not, I believe. Because all signs point to. But shouldn't she be hanging around the promotion at this point that she's leaving? Shouldn't she be hanging around putting other girls over? Like, what is TNA's interest? Knowing that she's leaving. Again, we're assuming here, right? But play along with me in this hypothetical. What is WWE's, what is TNA's benefit of keeping Jordynne Grace strong? For TNA, I mean. WWE absolutely has benefit in her looking as strong as possible before she comes into the promotion. That's fine. But shouldn't TNA be having her drop the title to someone? I'm not necessarily saying Dana Brooke, but she should be dropping the title to the next top contender. They should be warming someone up and she should be dropping it. And then on her way out, and don't wait till, December 31st to do it. Do it now. And then for the rest of the year, she's jobbing out to Masha, to Rosemary, Giselle, whoever the fuck. She's just putting girls over. Tasha Steelz, whoever. Jordynne Grace should be putting people over until she's gone from TNA. Do I care too much? Maybe. Maybe I care too much about TNA making sense. Because of course that won't make sense. This is the promotion that had Kenny Omega as their world champion for months, and they didn't even build up a proper challenger for Kenny Omega to drop the title to the point that it had to be another AEW wrestler who took the title off of Kenny Omega in Christian Cage. That's how bad that these people are at their booking patterns. So they're not going to do anything to benefit the actual talent while Jordynne Grace is still there. And I'm not saying job Jordynne Grace out because Jordynne Grace sucks because she's going to WWE. I'm saying do business properly. Do business right. This is what you do in the territories back in the day. You'd be on your way. Your contract would be up. You'd be going from one territory to another. Well, you go out flat on your back. You put everyone over, and then you hit the bricks. That's doing business the right way, because you're leaving behind people who suddenly feel more credible in the eyes of the viewing audience. But right now, I feel like TNA is so up their ass trying to create sports entertainment for all of these thousands and tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of new eyeballs that are allegedly coming in because of the NXT partnership, that they're so busy building sports entertainment angles for them that they just don't care. And they'll probably have Jordynne. This is TNA. I would not even be surprised. Let's have this conversation in 5 months again. I would not even be surprised if Jordynne Grace walks away from the company with the title and she drops it. That she vacates it. That she doesn't lose it to anyone. I wouldn't even be surprised. That's the kind of company this is. I would not be surprised in the least. I mean, doesn't that make sense? There's going to be, I don't think people realize how much of a massive hole the women's division is going to have with the departure of Jordynne Grace. I'm going to pull up the roster here just to make sure I'm not forgetting anyone. Like, who's going to pick up the slack here? Who's going to pick up the slack? This is who we got. Alicia Edwards, Dana Brooke, Dani Luna. I like Dani Luna. That's someone that I would get out of the tag team division and that I would push. I would push Dani Luna. Giselle Shaw. I like Giselle. I like Giselle. But I feel like we've tried Giselle before and it doesn't quite work out. You know? Harley Hudson, I don't know who that is. Havoc. Jessica Havoc. Jody Threat. That's another tremendous wrestler that I would push. But hanging around doing tag team stuff. Killer Kelly, is Killer Kelly still with the, she's still with the company? I don't know if she's the girl. There's Kylan King. That would be a good candidate. An okay candidate, but she's injured right now, isn't she? Masha Slamovich. Like, I don't know why this company is so afraid of belting up Masha with a singles title. Masha is tremendous. And now's the time to do it. You know, and have her beat Jordan decisively. No nonsense. A power finish. Rosemary, I mean, she's been around the block a couple of times. She's okay, but is she going to carry the division? You know, probably not. Savannah Evans, no. Steph DeLander, no. Sue Young, no. Tasha Seals, no. Zaya Brookside, no. You see what I mean? There's a gulf right now that exists in this division between the champion, Jordan Grace right now, and everyone else. And the contenders, the people that would make sense, that could carry this division, that could be the champion, they're all doing mid-card tag team stuff. Now's the time to elevate them. Now's the time. Have Jordan lose. Have Jordan lose the title before December. Have Jordan lose every match, every feud anyway, on her way out. And for some reason, Jordan Grace got a lot of slack on social media. A lot of flack, I mean, on social media because she was talking about how she did a tweet, right? Talking about how the surprises, no, not a tweet. She was interviewed by Sports Illustrated, who said that the surprises are going to be bigger than people realize, or something to that effect, right? For Slammiversary. And she says, I got the quote right here. TNA and NXT do surprises better than any other promotion. I don't think anyone can argue that. Sure, we can. If you're tired of accidentally reading spoilers, watch Slammiversary. Our goal is to make fans fall back in love with wrestling. There were no surprises, right? Unless you want to count Earl Hebner. We'll talk about that in a second, trust me. And then nothing really happened outside of Earl Hebner, which nobody considers a real surprise. So she was taking a lot of shit on wrestling and on Twitter. And then I'm like, well, who cares? It's pro wrestling. And this was a pro wrestler hyping up her company's big show, you know, which is fine. And she's talking about surprises. Maybe they did have something planned. I think she went on Twitter and said, "Oh, didn't you hear? There's a bug that grounded flights and probably kept people from coming in." I'm like, okay. Like in any way, who cares? Who cares? What could have possibly been this huge surprise? You know, like what could have been the huge surprise? Who would have flown in from Montreal to Montreal to do a TNA one-off? Doesn't matter. Mike Bailey defeated Mustafa Ali to become the new X Division champion. So this match, I was into it. I thought it was pumping and cooking. Doing two things, completely unrelated. One of them pumping, the other one cooking. You can't really pump and cook at the same time. It can be kind of weird. I don't know what kind of meal you're preparing if you're doing pumping and cooking at the same time, but it's two different things. And it was tremendous. And it was hot. And the crowd was into this. Are you kidding me? Everyone loves speedball here. Everyone loves speedball. Good little French Canadian dude, crushing it on the big stage. One of the best wrestlers. It's absolutely tremendous stuff. They're doing tremendous moves. He and Ali, especially speedball, right? Does a Spanish fly up off the top rope to the floor. Looking at this. He does that absolutely awesome. I love it every time he does it. The springboard moonsault thing. You know, the moonsault to the floor when the guy, Ali's sliding under the bottom rope and he lands to the floor. Meanwhile, he comes in for a baseball slide and Bailey jumps onto the second rope and Ali is going back on, it lands on the floor and then he jumps off and does the moonsault. It's always magic. I love that move. And Bailey does like all sorts of stuff, poison ranas and whatnot, and lands the ultimo weapon. Referee moves into position, counts 1, 2, 3. Crowd goes bananas. I'm pulling out my pen. I'm going. I'm writing down a 4. But the referee, after counting 3, notices that Mustafa Ali's foot was on the rope. Not because Mustafa Ali had put his foot there. It was Bailey holding on to Ali, in the pinning combination, had his foot on the rope. So the referee, even after he had counted the 3, decided to invalidate what he did. Sucked the air out of the room. And I was like, oh, God damn it. Then, immediately after, there's a ref bump. And then the entire feeling of this match, the entire setup of this match is completely thrown out the window. What we were getting was a tremendous pro wrestling match that the audience was 100% behind. They were into it. They were into the clean pro wrestling finish. Everyone was up on their feet cheering for local boy Mike Bailey winning the belt. And it was I was about to give it 4.25 stars. I thought it was a good, high-flying match, a great showcase for Bailey again. I thought Ali was good here as well. And it all seemed to come together in a perfect package. And I was like, man, this took some guts. This took some guts. This took guts to do this. Everything that I had seen before in this show, I was like, guts. Good for them. But no, we had to tell stories. Couldn't just have a wrestling match. We have to tell stories. So Mustafa Ali's goons, they all come in and they gang up on Bailey. And then Ali does a 450 splash. But then Trent Seven is dressed up as one of the goons. For some reason, no one checked under the mask before coming into the ring. That Trent Seven, who is Mike Bailey's friend, his ally, no one checked to see if it was him, if it was really the guy who was supposed to be there, if it was someone else. But He immediately gets taken out. It doesn't matter. He beats up a couple of goons, but he gets taken out. Then, and I kid you not, I shit you not, in the year of our Lord, 2024, Mustafa Ali is signaling for someone to come in from the back, and it is Earl Hebner in a referee shirt, sauntering to the ring amidst a chorus of boos from the Montreal fans, for those who recognize them, because in the year 2024, we still have to refer to the Montreal Screwjob every goddamn time we come to Montreal. And not only refer, but build an entire angle out of it. A story where Earl Hebner, you know, he's doing this to Ali and Ali's doing this, and hey, they're in cahoots. And so he gets into the ring, and I'm going to give you all 2 seconds to guess what Mustafa Ali then did as a hold to finish the match on Mike Bailey. It was a sharpshooter. Yes, of course. He locks in a sharpshooter and then looks at Hebner, and he's supposed to ring the bell, but Hebner has a crisis of conscience. He can't do the call. Ali gets mad at him. They argue. Bailey comes back to life, does the sharpshooter. Ali taps. And Mike Bailey wins. I cannot tell you how stupid and corny and phony and forced and that this was. It's not even, I don't even care about the Montreal Screwjob anymore. I'm sure Brett doesn't even care about the Screwjob anymore. I'm sure Earl Hebner didn't either, but he was like, you'll get a paycheck today, man. Vince doesn't even think about the Montreal Screwjob anymore. We're never going to live this down, aren't we? It was so tacky and dumb. Here's the thing. Why was Earl Hebner hanging around with the referee shirt backstage? Who made this okay? Like, there was someone who officially put it on, right? And isn't there an authority figure? Isn't it that goofball Santino Marella? Isn't he the authority figure, right? So he must have approved it. You see how authority figure angles ultimately never end up making sense. They never end up, especially, I think he's a babyface authority figure, right? He should have stopped this. Who made this happen? No, see, the minute you start applying a modicum of logic to this, it doesn't work. And I'm not even trying, not even sitting down, creating diagrams, making sure that everything comes together in just a tiny little bit. And you know that these are the old heads backstage in TNA who are like, oh yeah, we're going to do a Montreal Screwjob thing, right? All guys who remember the thing, who probably maybe even were in WWE at the time, who remember it, and like, oh yeah, they're going to love this. And I guess the crowd was kind of into it. I legitimately think there's a portion of this crowd was like, who's this old dude? But he did get some "you screwed Brett" chants. I think they started small, and then people then started to realize, oh wait, this is Earl Hebner. and then has the crisis of conscience, and then commentary after the match dares to tell us that Earl Hebner had he had his redemption moment in Montreal. Now he can walk with his head held high and down the streets of Montreal. I'm like, fuck off. It's so bad. But you see what I'm saying? Again, it's the theme of this review. You see what I mean? When I'm telling you, the grifters like the TNA now. Because they did one venue with 4,000 people in it where they can point to AEW and say, ha ha. And then they all have these great, fantastic, delicious stories that completely interrupt them. I cannot believe that this match had its legs cut off and gave us something completely different for the rest of the match. And in the chat, we're talking about delirious booking. I'm willing to put down 10 Canadian rubber bucks that this angle had Mustafa Ali's fingerprints all over it. This is as much as he is a good professional wrestler, and we like him for his work ethic, Mustafa Ali he's one of these creative types. Don't forget this, where look at all this angle that he's been doing, that he's been carrying on the indies, the In Ali We Trust thing, and he's been doing it everywhere. Don't lose sight here. To me, it has all the signs of a Mustafa Ali involvement. That he wants to do his stories too. He wants to be a part of this. I'm not ready to zero in just on the one guy. By the way, nice to see you, Sean. Welcome to the thing. I completely hated the second, everything post pin, the initial one is just ridiculous. I still give this match 3 3/4 stars, but this is going to be one of those with an asterisk. As I was into this, I am so disappointed in this match. And look, I mean, we're all saying, poor speedballing up. We don't know how into this he was or not. We don't know. Then we had the main event where Nick Nemeth defeated Frankie Kazarian, Josh Alexander, Joe Hendry, Moose, and Steve Macklin. That's right, 5 other guys to become the new TNA World Champion. So it's an elimination style match, and it's a bit of a scramble at first. And I thought the first part was well worked. I thought the initial scramble before Macklin got eliminated, I thought this was pretty good, right? Macklin, in fact, before he left, ate like a dozen German suplexes by Josh Alexander, who is still such a shining star in this promotion, right? Macklin gets eliminated by Moose after a spear. Moose has a heat segment where he's beating up everyone. And I'm thinking to myself, are they going to eliminate Moose next? Would they be that bold? And they were. They were. They had Joe Hendry. Well, first of all, they went up all the way to the stage, right? And they fight on the stage, and eventually Frankie Kazarian gets thrown off the stage through a table on the floor. So he's out for a while, right? That he spends the majority of the match selling the bump, which I appreciate. Don't get me wrong. I thought that was pretty good. So Joe Hendry pins Moose, and people love that. People got really, really excited for that because people like the Joe Hendry, right? Another sign that anyway, I think he's such a mid-pro wrestler. I get it, he has the looks, he's got the song, everyone believes, he's got the little catchphrase, he's got everything that works on that front. I think he's a mid-pro wrestler, right? And then he was eliminated next when Josh Alexander turned heel. And he got mad at Joe Hendry saying, he was saying, I was the heart and soul. I'm the heart and soul of this company. I'm the guy that kept propping things up. I work hard and so on. And I kind of appreciate, he's not wrong. Joe Hendry comes in, he does his smile, he has his goofy theme song, and he gets over. He goes to, he does the crossover stuff with NXT and whatnot. What's in it for Alexander, who's been, sweating and bleeding for this company for years, right? I think it's bold. It might be interesting too. Josh Alexander, God bless his heart, what do you do with him, right? These days, if you're not pushing him in the title picture, maybe a little heel turn will do him, a ton of good. Maybe it'll freshen things up a little bit, right? But yeah, he low blows Joe Hendry direct right in front of the ref because everything's no DQ. And yeah, then Nick Nemeth eliminates Josh Alexander, and Kazarian tries to steal the win afterwards, but Nick Nemeth kicks. They have some back and forth, he and Kazarian, and it's fine. Nothing out of the ordinary. Not this really exciting, compelling, blow your mind finishing stretch, but this was good enough for me for a 3.5 star match, considering everything else, especially on the show. This was overall the most solid thing. For the Josh Alexander, don't they have Bound for Glory coming up? When is Bound for Glory in the UK? Isn't that coming up? Let me see here. Bound for Glory 2024. Or am I just making this up in my head? They haven't announced it. They haven't announced the location yet. But isn't there rumors? I feel like this is not coming. I'm not making this up. Isn't there rumors that they might want to do this in the UK? I think. And isn't that's, it's in the fall. So, you build up Joe Hendry. Isn't that what you'd want to do? You'd do Joe Hendry versus Nick Nemeth, or at least for the title, right? Whatever, Nemeth or not, in the UK. Wouldn't that be the thing? I mean, I feel that's what they're doing, right? But then again, I'm wondering, would you belt up a guy? Would you belt up a guy who's obviously leaving for WWE as well? That's always the thing. But then again, I don't think this promotion cares. That was Slammiversary. I didn't think it was a particularly good show. I think it's very mid. And I think it is a testament of the direction that TNA is in. which is excuse me, which is sports entertainment. WWE Light.